Day 2 of the CWL third week of cross-divisional. We'd find out if UYU could bounce back, or is that roster just as bad as we predicted. Luminosity looks to keep their surge up. We have our first ever LAN matchup between FaZe and 100 Thieves, and then who knew what would happen between Splyce and EG after EG beat 100 Thieves. All of that plus betting predictions and more right now. Welcome back, all of you Call of Duty fans. Good to see you guys. The Day 2 recap is at hand. We are right there. I can feel it. 10,000 subs is in our near future. We are just above 9,900. So if you will come back to this channel, you need to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so that way you get notifications and little blips of when my videos do pop up live, doing recaps every single day. So let's go ahead and dig in. I did change up the graphics for you guys. Please let me know if you like these better. I spent some good time on them, and actually, personally, they came out a lot better than I thought they would. So hopefully you guys also enjoy them. Let's go ahead and take a look at our matchups today, as we would start off with UYU going up against Enigma 6. Luminosity would be taking on Units. We have that offline first ever LAN matchup between FaZe and 100 Thieves. And then to finish off the day, Evil Geniuses and Splyce, with a little bit of a grudge match there, as Accuracy would get some revenge potentially against his former team. Starting things off, UYU going up against Enigma 6. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. This Enigma 6 roster change, it doesn't really feel like it makes a lot of sense because they just finished top 6. We're literally a map away from potentially being a top 3 team. So why change? However, we saw some signs yesterday that when they were playing up against Luminosity, that this team very well could be good. And honestly, they could go toe-to-toe with a team like Luminosity. So here against UYU, what are they going to be able to do? We'll start things off on the hard point of Hacienda. UYU is just not a team yet. At all, actually. Just not even close. UYU would start off a little bit quick on the hard point, but E6 was able to come out really hard, being able to form together a nice little rotation between the end of the first set of hills through most of the second, and they would be able to walk away with the hard point without much of an issue. However, issues for Enigma 6 continue to start to plague them in the search and destroy. We heard about it yesterday, and going into the match today, and Enigma 6 would have some issues here again. Although, honestly, it really did feel like it was going to go UY's way because they've been looking pretty solid on Search and Destroy. They would continue to do so. So UYU picking up a map. And then beyond that, pretty quick and easy for Enigma 6, who absolutely dominated UYU on the control, finding themselves a 3-0. And then they would follow up on an Arsenal hardpoint where they would be able to wipe things. Although UYU made a little bit of a late surge, it was not nearly enough. So they would take the set 3-1, 250 to 189 was that last hard point. And Enigma 6, they're getting better with every single rep that they get. It'll be interesting to see, though, how they fare versus the top teams like Evil Geniuses, Splyce, and FaZe that are here in this divisional split. Speaking of Luminosity, let's go ahead and jump and take a look at them as they would go up against Units. Of course, coming off of a 3-1 win yesterday versus Enigma 6, they would get their chance here against the newly formed EU squad of Units. Hardpoint frequency would be our first one. LG, a little bit of a slow start, but goodness, again, Skies is absolutely insane. Nutty Tempest shots, really looking like what he said, the potential best Tempest player currently in the game. Brack would be absolutely popping off again, and John and Slack started to turn up as they would make huge moves a little bit late. Luminosity would edge out the first hard point on frequency. Search and Destroy, Hacienda, it was the Brack show. He started off 0-1 and then went 12 straight. GG, no re. It was a 6-1 on Hacienda. Brack being the big showstopper throughout the entirety of this map, making small little plays like this. Although I say small little plays, this wasn't really all that small. Pretty impressive stuff, as he almost was able to actually find all three, although he got some help from his teammates. So for the potential 3-0, we go to control on Gridlock. Luminosity looked good on the control yesterday versus Enigma 6. And honestly, there was an insane start to this matchup. Very back and forth, very close, extremely chaotic on Gridlock. Specialists were all over the place in round number 3. But again, LG found themselves a way to find an advantage and grab a win in round 3. And then from round 4, they kind of just rolled away for it. There is a lot of weapons on this team. And once they start to clean things up, this LG team is looking very, very scary. A potential top 4 threat. They take the set here versus Units 3-0 after the 3-1 on Gridlock control. Going over to FaZe versus 100 Thieves. First time we've seen these two teams play on LAN, and expectations were very high, I think, for just about everybody that we would get a very good set. 100 Thieves, after their loss to Evil Geniuses, had some question marks, and FaZe just narrowly able to survive Splyce. You know, we weren't really sure how to take that. Was it that FaZe wasn't performing as well as they were, or was Splyce that good? I think most people were learning towards Splyce was that good. Frequency, hardpoint, first map. No slow start here for 100 Thieves. It wasn't even close. An absolute stomp. It was almost a 100-point club at one point in time. FaZe Clan able to salvage that. A 250 to 121 right out the gate. Search and Destroy would go to Gridlock. Kenny would earn full streaks by round number 4. Octane would also pick up a lightning strike as 100 Thieves would go up 4-1. But wait, FaZe would be able to bounce back and find a handful of rounds, stringing a couple together as they would send things to around 11, where 100 Thieves were just able to get a bomb plant and then streaks. So they're able to save it, but again, some concerns for 100 Thieves on the Search and Destroy. The 6-5 win goes to them. We'd go to Control on Arsenal. Well, just chalk it. 100 Thieves came out to play today. They looked absolutely straight nasty on Arsenal. And yesterday, I think it's pretty much definitive that it was a fluke. It was easy peasy, no problem. Enable playing very, very well throughout the set, but most specifically on the Arsenal Control, a 3-0 in the map and a 3-0 in the set. 100 Thieves making a statement saying, sorry guys, we came a little bit asleep, hadn't played in a week, but we figured it out as they spent some long hours last night grinding, and they looked insanely good, untouched really whatsoever by FaZe Clan outside of that Search and Destroy. So we've had a pretty quick day. We'll finish things off with Evil Geniuses going up against Splyce. Gridlock hardpoint. This is where Splyce saw things go a little bit awry for them yesterday versus FaZe, where they weren't quite able to eke things out. A 238 to 250 loss. It was another strong start here for App and Attach on Evil Geniuses, and even though Splyce would be able to pick themselves back up, find a bit of a comeback and a lead, EG would have a chance to win. Splyce break the last handful of seconds on the tree hill, forcing a rotation into the broken house where they have the early setup. EG would break very easily, though. It came down to the wire, but it would in fact be the hard point going to Evil Geniuses, 250 to 239. Search and Destroy frequency would come up. And again, this Evil Geniuses team has been looking good across the Search and Destroy. They were 3-2 during their time at Anaheim, as one of their losses was a 5-6, the other was a 4-6, and then they had 2 wins yesterday versus 100 Thieves in Search. They'd find another one here as Exotic would pop this map, finding 4 in one of the rounds. And EG just as a whole, outside of just Exotic, just looked like the better team through and through. I said it before, I'll continue to say it until it changes. Splyce, they have a lot more work to do than just allowing Huke to come into the mix. So Evil Geniuses would go up 2-0 in the set. We'd go to Control. Splyce has been very good about coming back and finding some success on the Control. Specifically, Huke would pop off to keep Splyce just in it. And then they would find one offensive win on the Gridlock Control, which would give Splyce the W, finding themselves a 3-1, but a very close map. But honestly, again, for Evil Geniuses, the concerns that I have for them are, can they get better across every single hard point? They've done well on Seaside, they've done well on Arsenal, they have not done very well on Gridlock and Frequency. They would not do so well here, a 3-1 for Splyce. We'd continue the set on to map number 4. They will go to Seaside Hardpoint, and this is the map and play style that favors Splyce heavily. Anything up close and personal, anything SOG related, anything up close Maddox related, Splyce should dominate with, and they absolutely did. I've had my questions, and most of you guys in my Discord chat, you've heard me say it. And if you want to join us, by the way, for CWL Conversation, if you'd like to watch all the games, feel free to join my Discord. Link in the description below for you, where we do talk about the CWL pretty extensively with a handful of people. I was really nervous about Jerd and the Tempest on a SOG, not him playing Ruin or Recon. We've seen that happen. But Jerd popped the F off today with the Tempest, including this play where he's able to find a lot. But honestly, this map, everybody from Splyce had huge KD numbers, as Splyce would find a very easy win here. But this is what you want for Splyce. Find your identity, know where your strengths are. Seaside's a map that you're going to love playing on, I think, 250 to 114. Finishing off, we'd go to map number 5, Reverse Sweep Potential for Splyce, as they would try to finish things off, and it would be Arsenal for the Search and Destroy, and Attach would start things off hot for Evil Geniuses with some hot snipes. 6 snaps. Nice double kills, everything looking good, but then Splyce would figure out that, hey, he's the only one doing work for Evil Geniuses, just isolate and push him, and that was really it, and that's where it really came down to. Splyce found the advantage, and they would take the win and complete the reverse sweep, finding the 6-3 there. So there's the sets as you see them. A very good day of games, honestly. And if you bet the games, well, you paid out right now, and I'm happy for you. Congratulations. Let's talk about tomorrow, as we will take a look at our head-to-head graphics. Enigma 6 will be going up against FaZe Clan first. And Enigma 6, honestly, could give FaZe a little bit of a run for their money here. They've looked relatively good in the hardpoint, especially as they played against UIU, again, a bad UIU team. But more specifically, even though they lost both maps to Luminosity, they were in it throughout all of it. 196 to 250, 180 to 250. And FaZe has looked a little bit rough when it comes to how consistent we anticipated they would be on map styles like hardpoint. So it's going to be interesting to see, I think, that head-to-head there. But more importantly for Enigma 6, you need to find a way to get better at search and destroy fast, because this is where FaZe Clan has been a little bit lacking. They've been better, but still, this is their weakest mode by far. You need to find a way to punish them here if you're Enigma 6. To finish things off, the control, we saw FaZe absolutely just get smacked by 100 Thieves, but you got to remember they also lost that round 5 on frequency to Splyce the day before. So for Enigma 6, who were just able to find a 3-0 versus UIU, you're hoping you can keep some success there, and maybe you can send this one the distance. FaZe, I think, is obviously the favorite coming in. We'll do our predictions when we do our Bookie's Worst Nightmare at the end of the show. Going to our next matchup, it'll be Units going up against Evil Geniuses second. And this one is going to be also, I think, a little bit interesting. Evil Geniuses, do they have the composure to close out sets? We've seen them go to round 5, or map 5 rather, twice. But for Units, there's a big growing pain, I think, for this squad at the moment. Most specifically in their search and destroy, they have not looked very good there. It was a 4-6 loss to UIU, and then a 1-6 loss to Luminosity. They have looked relatively decent in the hardpoint and the control, so for Respawn, maybe there's going to be some success there against Evil Geniuses, but based on what I've seen from EG, they're looking more solid across all of the search and destroys. They've looked relatively good across most of the hard points with a couple of exceptions. And then it just, for me, comes down to, will Evil Geniuses continue to use this as a growing pain, or will they try to find some wins here? Because that's kind of the biggest thing. A lot of these teams are just trying to get reps in on land before they get to Miami. Evil Geniuses now currently with that loss is out of the running of a top 4 spot. So you just work on things like gridlock and frequency on control. Do you work on your weaker maps? I think the answer will probably be yes. So do not sleep on this set. It could be a very close one. Going into the back half of our day, UIU will be going up against Splyce. Honestly, not really one worth tuning into. UIU is just looking awful. They look terrible. They have a super low hardpoint average. 170 points is their average. That's not good, as they're 0-4 there. They have looked okay when it comes to the search and destroy, but they haven't played anybody good in search yet. They've played Units in Enigma 6. Take that for what you will. For Splyce, though, you know, they did not look clean or polished in the first 2 maps against Evil Geniuses. They obviously had some struggles and some close calls when it came to the set versus FaZe. I think this Splyce team grew a lot in that set versus Evil Geniuses. I don't anticipate them having much of a problem with UIU. And then to finish off the day, another test here is Luminosity will give their go versus 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves have locked in a top 2 spot, essentially, for what they were able to do in the divisional. But again, I don't think they were going to be going into this matchup sleeping. They might work on a couple of maps that they're not super prevalent on, but they will get a little bit of a workout here, I think, from Luminosity, who has looked good in the hardpoint specifically. They're averaging a 250 to 186, a pretty good average considering it is only over 3 maps. And they're also right in the mix when it comes to their search and destroy after that 6-1 win versus Units. But the 4-6 loss to Enigma 6 has you a touch worried. Luminosity, if you want to have a set or a chance at this set win versus 100 Thieves, you need to win the search and destroy. And then how about this? Looking much better in the control so far is LG. So this could be a very good set as well. That'll lead things to our Bookie's Worst Nightmare, which will give you guys all of your betting tips and advice. And I'll try to break down what some of the lingo actually means. Some of you guys have been asking, so what do these things actually mean? I'll try to give you some references, so hopefully you pick up on them. Let's start things off with what the bet scorecard has looked like so far throughout this week. We had the spread bet correct for Units in the first day, but didn't quite catch the parlay, thanks 100 Thieves. And then if you bet the parlay bet of Enigma 6 and Luminosity, you cashed out a little bit there. But unfortunately, FaZe Clan was not able to do nearly as much work versus 100 Thieves as I thought that they would. So you lost that spread bet if you put that one there. Going into Wednesday, though, day number 3, here's the matches and our predictions for you guys, as we'll be dealing with Enigma 6 and FaZe first. And honestly, again, do not sleep on this Enigma 6 team. They're going at plus 175 for the underdog, which again means if you put down $10, you'll get back 17.5. That's how the American odds works. It just takes your money and hits you with the times whatever the value is. So 1.75 on the dollar is what you're getting. So that's a 17.5 off of a $10 bet. That's tempting for the underdog bet. They also add a minus 120. What essentially the minus 120 means is that if you bet $10, you'll be getting essentially back 80% of that. So again, you look at it, there's 8 missing from the $2 value. So you're getting back, if you make a $10 bet, you're getting back 8.33 or 8.3 with that bet. So that's kind of how the minus works for you guys. This match I think is going to be pretty good though, honestly, because I think Enigma 6 can put up a fight. However, I do not see them potentially going up to actually be able to beat FaZe Clan, who I think will bounce back and learn a lot from their set versus 100 Thieves. This is a team that's still growing and definitely still trying. They're definitely not throwing away any of these sets. They are the heavy favorites at minus 250, which again, if that's the bet that you're looking to make, you put down $10 on that one, you pull back 4 is essentially how that works. You get back a quarter of it. So for this set, prediction-wise, I've got this one still going FaZe's way, but if you're looking to potentially take a chance on Enigma 6, if you believe in them as much as I do, there's a potential that I think this very well could be a 2-map spread. So I've got this one going to game 5, a 3-2 favoring FaZe. So that means, again, if you're looking at betting the spread, the plus 1.5 means that you're betting that Enigma 6 will essentially take 2 or more maps. So if you think that they can make that game 5 happen or take the underdog win, you would want to bet that spread. I personally will not, because honestly, I can see this one being a 3-1 or even a 3-0. I don't feel as confident in it as Enigma 6 as I do in FaZe, but I could see this one going to 5. So there's definitely a possibility for you there. Second set of the day, Units and Evil Geniuses. Units are the underdog here. It'll give you plus 162 return for every dollar that you put back. So again, $10 will merit you $16.2 in return. And then the plus 1.5 is going at minus 120. So again, if they can find 2 maps or more, you'll get minus 120 off of your bet. Evil Geniuses, the favorites here at minus 225 and minus 120 on the spread. You can see what it looks like over the last 10 matches. Units, that matchup there is actually the most recent because of the roster swaps. But personally, I think what I saw from Evil Geniuses was promising. I think they'll learn something from that Splyce set, go back and rewatch it, and just get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. I trust in Revan. My biggest question mark comes down to, will they continue to flex on the maps they're not as comfortable on? For me, though, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I've got Evil Geniuses taking this one at a 3-1 scoreline, and I'm going to mark this one for a potential parlay option, which means that you'll combine the match winner with other match winners. So if you predict all of the match winners correctly, you'll be getting a higher return on your bets. And I also have this one marked for a spread bet. I like the minus 120 on the 1.5. Again, that means that they have to find a 3-0 or a 3-1 versus Units. I'll be taking the parlay option as well as taking the spread. I feel pretty confident in that one as well. Definitely one that I think you might be able to find some favor in. Going to the back half of the day, UIU going up against Splyce. As you would anticipate, UIU, the heavy underdogs, not favored to win this one by any stretch of the imagination. They're even getting plus 162 for them to even find 2 maps, which is a pretty tall statement. Honestly, don't even worry about this one. This is an easy Splyce one. I've got this one going 3-0 for Splyce, but I will notch this as a parlay option in combination with Evil Geniuses because I feel like this will be a pretty confident win for Splyce. Definitely one you might want to add into a doubles or triples bet. Then to finish off the day, Luminosity versus 100 Thieves. This one could be pretty close, and Luminosity is a heavy underdog. Plus 400 is what I'm finding around the web at the moment, which means that, again, you put down $10, you'll win 40. However, I don't know if that's really all that worth it. Yes, Luminosity has been looking good in the respawn and decent in the search and destroy, but based on what we just saw from 100 Thieves, if they come out with that same kind of fire, even on their worst maps, I think 100 Thieves takes this. I still think Luminosity will find at least a game, though, so I've got this one going 3-1 favoring 100 Thieves. Don't bother with the minus 227 spread. It's not worth it really whatsoever, and honestly, there is potential this could go game 5, but in the end, I see 100 Thieves winning this one pretty confidently. I've got them notched for a parlay option. So, as far as my bets go for the entirety of the day for Wednesday, I've got the spread bet notch for Evil Geniuses, taking the 3-1 or the 3-0 over Units, and then I've got a parlay bet that will actually serve as a triple bet where I have the match winners of Evil Geniuses, Splyce, and 100 Thieves. That'll all pay out pretty nicely if you do end up finding that one, if you're feeling confident in it, of course. And then to finish off, we got to go through the standings very, very quickly. Again, I told you that these videos would be a little bit on the longer side this week. Looking at Division A, again, not much movement here besides at the bottom. FaZe is just more solidifying their spot in the second spot if they can continue to find wins. Obviously, they're just a narrow margin above Gen G. And then at the very bottom, Evil Geniuses with their loss today will actually be completely out of the running for a top 4 spot, but they are just above Luminosity, who have eked their way above UYU for the last spot. In Division B, 100 Thieves still knocking on the door of E United. Splyce trying to gain some distance between them and the rest of the pack below for that 4th spot. Envy not quite out of the running yet in the 7 and 11, same with Elevate, but Units and Enigma 6 are pretty much out of the running at this point in time as they sit in the 7th and 8th spots. You see all the games popping up in the future over there on the schedule. Hopefully that you guys enjoy that. Hopefully the graphics are a little bit better for you guys. Please let me know if there was anything else that's really difficult to see. I imagine the map totals and record totals on that scoreboard and the standings page is probably a little bit hard to see, but hopefully everything else is pretty clear for you guys on mobile. I'm trying to make it as friendly as possible. I didn't even consider that when I was making the graphics initially, so if there are other issues or if you'd like to see more information on something else, please let me know and I can make those changes happen for you guys. Big pleasure having you guys around. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, we're so close to 10K subs, so if you are coming back time and time again, why not subscribe, get that little notification bell ring so you know when my videos do go live on the interwebs. And until tomorrow's recap, hope you guys keep holding it down. Later, bye-bye.